I don't remember when it started feeling wrong. That's the part that still bothers me. There wasn't a moment. There wasn't a line I crossed. There was just a long stretch of time where nothing dramatic happened and I kept going. I was already well into adulthood when this habit settled in. Not young, not new to effort. I had a body that worked. It showed up when I asked it to. It didn't complain much. If it did, I ignored it in the polite way adults ignore things, by reframing it as discipline. People around me admired it. That's not vanity talking. They said it out loud. They called me reliable, strong, consistent. I heard, "You're so good at keeping this up," more times than I can count. It became part of how people described me when I wasn't in the room. I didn't invent the habit. I inherited it from the culture I was in, from the tone of the places I worked, from the quiet competition of adulthood, where exhaustion is currency and endurance passes for character. It was a good habit. That's what made it dangerous. My days had a rhythm that looked clean from the outside. Early starts, tight transitions, very little wasted time. I moved my body regularly, predictably. I didn't skip. I didn't negotiate with myself. I showed up even when I didn't feel like it, which people seem to respect more than results. At first, it felt like control. Then it felt like identity. After that, it just felt necessary. I didn't notice my body changing because it didn't collapse. It adapted. It always adapted. That was the problem. My body learned how to survive the pressure instead of rejecting it. There were small signals. I noticed them, but I filed them away under adulthood. Stiffness that didn't quite leave. Sleep that didn't quite restore. A low, dull fatigue that wasn't dramatic enough to deserve attention. I told myself it was age or stress or the normal cost of being consistent. Sometimes I would sit down and feel a heaviness that didn't match the day I'd had. Not pain, weight. Like something had settled into my muscles and decided to stay. I kept the habit anyway. It didn't feel obsessive. That's important. It felt responsible. It felt like maintenance, like brushing your teeth or paying bills. Skipping felt wrong in a moral way, not a physical one. On days when my body clearly didn't want to do it, I felt proud for overriding that signal. That's how deeply this was praised. Discomfort meant virtue. Rest meant weakness unless it was earned through exhaustion. I didn't talk about the cost because there wasn't a clean story to tell. I wasn't injured. I wasn't sick. I was just less spring, less tolerance, less recovery, and strangely, less joy in the thing itself. That part took me a long time to admit. The habit had outlived the pleasure, but I kept it alive because it looked good, because it matched the image people had of me, because stopping felt like letting something important decay. My body started carrying it differently. My shoulders crept upward without me noticing. My jaw stayed tight even when I wasn't stressed. My breath stayed shallow, like it was always waiting for the next demand. I would lie down at night and feel wired instead of tired, my body buzzing, my mind quiet, but my system alert, like it didn't trust me to let go. Still, I kept the habit. I told myself the habit wasn't the problem. Life was. Work was. Time was. The habit was the thing holding me together. That's the part I got wrong. The recognition didn't come during the habit. It came afterward. much later, on a day that wasn't dramatic at all. I remember standing in my kitchen, holding something simple, I don't even remember what, and realizing my hands felt weak, not injured, weak in a vague, unconvincing way, like the signal wasn't strong enough to alarm me, just strong enough to register. I set the object down and waited for the feeling to pass. It didn't. Later that week, I noticed how carefully I lowered myself into chairs, how I braced before bending, how my body had started protecting itself from me. That was unsettling. There was no diagnosis, no authority telling me to stop, no clear rule change, just an accumulation of evidence that my body was no longer on my side. I didn't quit the habit that day or the next. I didn't make a declaration. I didn't announce anything. What I did felt smaller and somehow heavier. I broke my own rule, just once at first. I skipped a session without replacing it with anything virtuous. I didn't stretch. I didn't actively recover. I just didn't do it. The discomfort wasn't physical, it was psychological. A kind of guilt that didn't have language, like I was cheating on a version of myself that other people trusted. That night, my body slept differently, deeper, not perfectly, but differently enough that I noticed. So I did it again, not skipping everything, just loosening the grip, letting the habit lose its moral weight. That's when the real cost showed up. People noticed, not in a dramatic way, in comments that sounded casual but landed sharp. Taking it easy lately? You okay? Did you fall off? I smiled. I nodded. I felt exposed. I had built credibility on endurance, and now I was quietly dismantling it. My body, on the other hand, started doing something unexpected. It softened. Not weaker, softer. My movements felt less guarded. My breath deepened without instruction. The constant background tension eased enough that I could feel it leaving. It wasn't a miracle. Some damage didn't reverse. Some stiffness stayed. Some fatigue had become structural. And I missed parts of the habit. I missed the certainty. I missed the praise. I missed knowing exactly who I was supposed to be that day. But I didn't miss the quiet hostility my body had developed toward me. The relief was measurable in small ways. I stopped waking up already tired. I could sit longer without shifting. I recovered faster from normal days, not heroic ones. I lost something, though. I lost my place in a certain social category, the always-on one, the one people reference when they want an example. I had to let that go without replacing it. That part still stings. Even now, there are days when I feel the old pull, the urge to prove something through repetition, through override, through showing up when it hurts just to show that I can. Sometimes I do it anyway, and my body reminds me later, this didn't make me wiser. It didn't turn me into a model of balance. It just stopped the leak. My body doesn't feel young. It feels capable again. There's a difference. I live with the cost of the years I spent misunderstanding what strength was. Some of that is permanent. I don't romanticize it. But the habit no longer runs me, and my body no longer braces when I decide how to spend my energy. That's what worked for me. Not because it's right, not because it's replicable, because I stayed with the wrong thing long enough to finally choose differently. If this story crossed something you recognize, Maybe it's enough to stay for a bit. I write and speak like this from experience, not conclusions. If you want, subscribe. And if something stayed with you, leave a comment. I read them, sometimes in silence,